Hello, it's time to improve your poetry skills. Welcome to class 2. It is Learn Poetry with Tina Truth. If you've not watched class 1, then you have to do that. You can check my page. You will see Learn Poetry with Tina Truth class 1. This is class 2. You guys learned so much from the previous class, and I've been seeing the comments on the group. And I am so excited about this other class because I know you're going to learn even more. All right, so this is the table of content like you've seen before. We've done number 1, number 2, and now we're going to number 3. Number 1, who is a poet? Check it out. Class 1. If you were in class 1, or if you've listened to class 1, please comment below. Say I've done class 1. Beautiful. I would love to see your comment so that I know that you are following up. All right. In parts of speech, every poet must know. This was beautiful. I enjoyed explaining every single bit of this. Now you know the parts of speech that you should know as a poet so that you can write better poetry. Now, number 3, understanding the figures of speech. This is what we will be talking about today. Figures of speech, otherwise known as the literary devices. So, like I said in class 1, if you are here, it is because you want to get better with poetry. So, get a pen, get a paper, open your notepad, get ready to learn because this is not entertainment. And if this is your first time on this page, hit the subscribe button. This is home. This is a place to be if you're a poet, poetry lover, creative, lover of words. Hit the subscribe button. We're going to do so much together. Okay, so today, understanding the literary devices. Now, the literary devices are the language of a poet. It is with these devices that we communicate to the world and to one another. So, this is our native tongue, this is our dialect. If you're from a particular place, you have a tribe, you guys speak a particular language that you all understand. This is what literary devices mean to us. This is our language. It is with literary devices that we communicate. It's also known as figures of speech. So you can see figures of speech. These are the figures through which we speak our speech. Okay. This is the language of poetry. You should both be able to read and write these. So when you read a particular figure of speech, you should be able to tell it that this is metaphor, this is this, and this is that. All right. And also, you should be able to write these figures of speech. What I mean by that is you should be able to formulate and construct these figures of speech by yourself. So you must learn your mother tongue. Our mother tongue in this case is figures of speech or literary devices. All right. The first one is simile. Every time people talk about literary devices, I think they always start with simile. Why? Because I think it's the first one you should know. You should arm yourself with simile. If you're a beginner poet, please embrace simile, make it your best friend, and you would do so much with it because it's more like a basic, more like a necessity. All right, so here I've given examples. Before then, this is the definition I put here. I said simile is comparison with as and like. Take note. Take note of every definition I'm going to be giving here. Some of the definitions, I had to give my own definition of them because I thought that I needed to explain them in my own words for you to understand what they really mean. Exactly. So take note of the definitions that I'm giving here. And now I've given examples. Here, the first example here is I will remain as calm as a dove. This is a beautiful simile. As calm as a dove. Yeah. But this is also the most popular form of simile. And it's great. It's extraordinary. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. You can do exploits with it. But I want to show you other ways to use your simile to spice up your poem, because it's not enough to just compare two things: as calm as a dove, as busy as a bee, as this, as that, or this like this like that. So it's not enough to just do that. What if we compare situations? What if we compare circumstances? What if we compare moments, events, memories? That's what I'm going to be sharing with you now. Okay, like I said earlier, I want to say it again. If you're following this class, please do take it seriously and give it utmost importance, because if you do, it is capable of changing your entire poetry life. It's capable of making you do exploits in poetry. I look forward to your greater and your better poems, because that's what makes me happy. You write better and I am happier. All right. Okay, so this second example here, I said God and man fused into an indivisible atom. Yeah, God and man fused into an indivisible atom, like a round ball of spiritual energy held together by a force greater than electromagnetism. Now, this is a line from one of my poems, and as you can see, I am comparing a particular thing, like the way man and God is fused together. I am comparing that scenario with another scenario. Do you get it? You get it? You get it? Please use the comment section like we did in class 1. I want to see you communicating. Say, I get it. I get it. I can imagine you typing. All right. I get it. I think you're done. Okay. So God and man fused into an indivisible atom. And now I'm comparing that particular sentence. I'm comparing a whole sentence. I'm saying God and man fused into an indivisible atom, like a round ball of spiritual energy held together by a force greater than electromagnetism. Now, this is beautiful. Another very beautiful way to use your simile. Do you understand? Yes, you do. So, learn to not just compare things, compare situations, compare scenarios, like I did in this number 2. Imagine I wanted to say something. Imagine I want to compare, instead of, okay, let me just give an example. What if I said the car was rushing towards me like the sun does to the early morning? Okay. The car was, okay, I think I should put it better. The car was rushing towards me like the sun to early morning. Or we can even say the car was rushing towards me like the sun to morning. Exactly. I think that's more beautiful. All right, I got it. Okay, nice. So now I just compared the way the car was running towards me to the way the sun runs into the morning. Do you understand? Yes, you do. So now you can compare scenarios and situations like that, not just comparing two things. That's what I am saying. Good. I like to be sure that I'm understood. Now, the last example here, I said like a thief. Please forgive the misspelling there. It's Like for like. Like a thief, I'll await the first light of darkness. You see what I did there? God, I hope you see that. It's actually paradox. But basically, I fused simile and paradox together. I think I should not talk about the paradox aspect right now, but if you see it, you can just let me know that you see it. Just tell me I see the paradox in the comment section for those of you who see it. But if you don't, I'm going to talk about paradox later on in this video. I'm going to break it down, give you examples of paradox. So we'll talk about that later. So for now, like a thief, I'll await the first light of darkness. Now, can you see that I put my like in the beginning of the sentence? Did you see that? Did you notice? Good. So now this is another beautiful way to use your simile. Start with it. Do you know you can start an entire piece with like? Imagine I started a piece and I'm like a thief, I will await the first light of darkness. When all the sun has gone to hiding and the moon now shine in its brightest form. Oh my God. What have I said? Okay, so like a thief, I will await the first light of darkness. Now, I started with like, and what I'm showing you now are dynamic ways to use these figures of speech such that you can be so creative with them, and people may not even easily notice that what you just did there was a simile because you're using it creatively. All right, that's that for simile. So, like I explained, don't just compare things, compare situations, scenarios, circumstances, moments, memories, anything. You can compare a whole story to another story. It is a simile. And here I have compared two sentences or two scenarios in this example. And the last one, I started with a like. I started with like better. So I started with like. Try that, try it out, try it out in your poem. It's gonna be beautiful, and it's also gonna give you, you know, dynamic. All right. So the second one is metaphor. I love metaphor. Like I sometimes I wonder if it's my favorite figure of speech because I love metaphor, but then I love porn, and then I love alliteration. I think okay, but I think for depth devices, because they are sound devices, some of these figures of speech portray more of the sound. Like alliteration is like a sound device, you know. Okay, let's not get there now. Let me not sell you so many things at once. But I love metaphor because I feel like a poem is incomplete without metaphor. I don't think you should write a poem without metaphor. Dear Lord. See my definition of metaphor here. I said metaphor is an unapologetic comparison. You're not going to find that definition anywhere. So write it down, write it down, write it down. Metaphor is an unapologetic comparison. When I say unapologetic, it means I don't compare them. Like, it means that I don't really care so much about making you understand. I go straight to the point. I am direct. Okay, let me give you the examples that are here. I'm sure it will help. Number one, I said, and in that moment, he was a beast. Do you understand? I'm not suggesting to you, I'm telling you directly. That's what metaphor does. Metaphor gives you the opportunity and that privilege to bring in what you think and impose it. Do you understand? Now, imagine I continue this poem from here and I was like, and in that moment, he was a beast. As he shouted, I could hear the roar of his voice. That's me now. I'm basically painting this person as a beast. And continue. Maybe he beat somebody and I'm like, as he grabbed her with his claws, he calls a hand. I have entirely imposed my perspective into your thoughts because I used metaphor. I was like, in that moment, he was a beast. That is what I'm trying to explain. So, metaphor compares unapologetically. I'm telling you that this is what this is, and you have to see it this way. And I can decide to build an entire poem on that thing that I have told you, but you just have to see it that way. Now, number two, oh my God, I like to be dynamic. So, number two brings some dynamics to metaphor. Number two says the nectar of knowledge. The nectar of knowledge. When I say unapologetic comparison, we are so used to hearing he was a beast, she is a dog, she is a good. What did I say? Oh my God. Do you understand? Now, do you know that number two is a metaphor? It's a complete metaphor because here, like I said, I'm showing you the dynamics. Here, when I say the nectar of knowledge, what I am doing is this. I am telling you that knowledge is now like a sunflower, right? Because does knowledge have nectar? No. What has nectar? A flower. A flower has nectar. So when I say the nectar of knowledge, I have unapologetically told you that knowledge is a flower and it has nectar. I not try to say that knowledge is as sweet as the nectar of a flower. I just told you directly, the nectar of knowledge. This is a kind of metaphor that is just so amazing. So I'm showing you all of these so that you can be dynamic with your figures of speech. And if you actually literally understand the figure of speech, you should be able to do this. You should be able to do this even involuntarily, by reflex, unknowingly. You could even do all of this. So the nectar of knowledge here unapologetically compares a flower to knowledge. It's a flower that has nectar, right? Yeah. Okay, so number 3 says, this white blanket will forever spread above our heads. Now, here I'm referring to the clouds. And now I'm not telling you the cloud is a white blanket, or even though that is a metaphor. But I'm telling you, this white blanket will forever spread above our heads. This is me imposing into your mind. Imposing, like I am getting away with it. I'm going into your mind and I'm telling you that the cloud above us is a white blanket. Do you understand? Do you understand? This is dynamicity. What did I just say? Okay, but these are dynamics. These are ways that you can use these things so creatively, so innovatively, that you will get the most out of it. Now, instead of saying the cloud is a white blanket, I said this white blanket. This is me telling you that I don't need to explain to you. I hope you get it. I hope you get it, because this is unapologetic comparison. So I say to you, this white blanket will forever spread above our heads. And the last one, oh my God, this last one. You are the ruler by which success is measured. This is a metaphor. I just called you the ruler. You are the ruler by which success is measured. This is a line by one of my poet friends and leader. Oh, I love him so much. He says, you are the ruler by which success is measured. Do you understand? That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That is a metaphor. All right, so we're going to be going to the next one, which is metonymy. Metonymy is substitution by association. Like I'm telling you, these definitions are my personal definitions. Metonymy is substitution by association. Now, what does this mean? It means I substitute one thing for another because they are associated. Good. You get it. I know you get it. You're smart. So metonymy is substitution by association. And that, now let's take a look at the examples that I put here. Number 1 is, how can 2 gunmen put uniforms to flight? You know, this also has a rhetorical question. How can 2 gunmen put uniforms to flight? The metonymy here is uniforms. This uniforms is talking about policemen, or soldiers. Policemen or soldiers, basically the armed forces of the government. So it's like a rhetorical question here. How can 2 gunmen put uniforms to flight? Do you understand? Now I have used uniforms to cover the police department. Do you understand? I know. I'm just asking because, I gotta ask. How can 2 gunmen put uniforms to flight? That is substitution by association. So because uniforms are associated with police officers, now I just use uniforms for them instead of saying police officers. I'm like, how did 2 gunmen put uniforms to flight? Beautiful. So now you check the second one. The second one says, when the rod is broken, who then shall mend the child? When the rod is broken, who then shall mend the child? Now, the rod here is referring to a parent, because parents are associated with the rod. The Bible also says, spare the rod and spoil the child. Now, metonymy here is using that rod to associate with a poet. Get out. Now, metonymy here is using a rod to associate with a parent, not a poet. A poet, if I wanted to call a poet, I should probably use a pen for the metonymy of a poet. Now, but for here, we're talking about a parent, and it says, when the rod is broken, who then shall mend the child? When the rod is broken, who then shall mend the child? Do you understand? The rod there signifies a parent. Now, that is metonymy because the rod is associated with a parent. We use the rod instead of a parent. Now, the third one and the final one for metonymy is I have dwelt amongst crowns. It is no different from the casino. They sing the same soulless songs. The first, I think here we have the metonymy in the first phrase. It says, I have dwelt amongst the crowns. The crowns here refers to kings, royalty. Do you understand? Like I said, substitution by association. You see why I love my definitions, right? I think they make sense. When I write a book, I think people will start learning these definitions. So, I have dwelt amongst the crowns. The crown here is associated with royalty, a king, a queen, people in the palace. And now, because the crown is associated with royalty, I use the crown to substitute royalty because it is associated with royalty. Simple, 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 easy. You get it, you understand it. Thank you. I love you. Now, that is metonymy. Why am I giving you 3 examples for all these things? It's because if you look at my examples, they're usually slight differences so that you fully comprehend what this figure of speech is about. I think I should think of another one to add, right? Should I? There's this very popular metonymy that says the pen is mightier than the sword. That's metonymy. The pen is referring to maybe those people that can just sign away your life. Maybe a judge in a court just signs something, and like a president of a country, he can just sign a bill, and that bill will kill 10,000 people. And a sword may just be able to kill 100 persons in one day. So that's a metonymy. The pen is mightier than the sword, referring to those people who use the pen and those people who use the sword. But I think that sentence is also a bit of a paradox. I've been mentioning paradox a lot. I can't wait to get to paradox and explain to you what paradox is so that I can fully talk about it, because it's still like paradox to me. All right, the next one here is synecdoche. Synecdoche is substitution by part. You understand? Substitution by part. Now, I'm going to go straight to the examples. Number 1 is all flesh must die. All flesh must die. So, synecdoche is taking a part of you to substitute for your whole self. Popular examples of synecdoche are all eyes on me. What this person is saying is focus on me. Focus on me. But he's taking your eyes. He's saying all eyes on me. Or some other kinds of synecdoche is something like lend me your ears. We're using your ear to represent your full self. Synecdoche and metonymy are alike, but they are different. There's a thin line between synecdoche and metonymy, even though they are similar also. Now, when I say all flesh must die, I'm like, because the flesh is part of the body. And now I'm using flesh to refer to humans. I'm saying all flesh must die. And then number 2 here, I'm like, only stable heads should study medicine. Only stable heads should study medicine. Now, this heads here is referring to people. Human beings, like only stable people who can afford to concentrate and not be distracted. I'm like, only stable people should study medicine. But because the head is a part of a person, I'm like, only stable heads should study medicine. And the amazing thing is, you understand what I'm saying. Beautiful, because now that we're saying this thing, you're realizing that these are some things you say regularly and you don't know them. But as a poet, it's important that you know them. That's why we're having this class. Then number 3, I said tender stalks cannot form timber. Tender stalks cannot form timber. Tender stalks cannot form timber. The word stalks there is the Senedo key, because now when I say tender stalks, I'm referring to trees, tender trees, trees that are not strong enough. You cannot use them for chairs and tables. But I'm referring to them as tender stalks. I'm using a part of that tree to represent the whole tree. And that is what Senedo key does. Tender stalks cannot form timber is a Senedo key, because we're using stalks to represent an entire tree that is living. But because it's tender, we're saying it cannot form timber. And porn. A dear friend of mine says I like porn. Then that was when that after this person told me, that was when I really went to check some of my pieces, and I'm like, damn, I love porn. And because it's almost in every of my piece, especially my spoken word. Porn, I love it. So what is porn? Porn is play on words. Simple. Playing with words. When you deliberately play, just play with the words, savor the words, juggle between them, and enjoy the moment. Now, you're gonna love porn. If you already know porn, you should love porn already. Alright. The first example for porn here is, for before time, this time was timed, etched in the calendar of times, that Arab will know the Lord before time itself runs out of time. Did you notice the porn there with the word time? Time. I repeated time several times in this sentence. Just, I think, four or five times. I'm like, for before time, this time was timed, etched in the calendar of times, that Arab will know the Lord before time itself runs out of time. That is 7 times that I mentioned time. Oh God, I might play my own porn over here. 7 times I mentioned time. Yeah. Now, that is porn, because I'm obviously playing with the words right here. Then the second one is, oh my God, I love this line. He is the king in king, kingly in the kinghood of his father's kingdom. This is porn. He is the king in kingly in the kinghood of his father's kingdom. I put this other porn here for you to know that sometimes there could be little alterations in your porn, but it is porn. Because here we did not, unlike the first one, we're like time. Now we're like kinging, then there's king. There's kingly in the kinghood of his father's kingdom. But there's king that's appearing in all of this, and it is porn. Oh, and this third one, I heard this third one when I was in secondary school. I love this so much. It says, trouble those who trouble. Trouble those who trouble. This is pure and complete porn. And the last one here, if you darken the darkness dark enough, you would darken the souls that enter it. If you darken the darkness dark enough, you would darken the souls that enter it. Do you understand? That is porn. That is porn, man. I hope you love porn too. Now, what you have to start thinking now is, okay, how do I use porn? You think of a word. How do I play around it to form a porn? Because this is all about improving your poetic skills. So think of a word, play around it, and form a porn sentence, and you will be excited. And when you bring all these figures of speech together, when you learn all of this, basically, you would take your poetry to a whole new level, because these figures of speech are important to every poet. The next figure of speech here is oxymoron. I love oxymoron too. I think I love every figure of speech. I think I need to just accept that I love every figure of speech. I'm finding that out now. Yeah. Cool. You love them too. Now, oxymoron is 2 contradictory words together. Two contradictory words together. This is easy to understand. This is not a complex thing at all. So once you see oxymoron, you should just know. See the first example here. It says, I can only imagine the scars in the heart of this ugly beauty. Ugly beauty, for real? Seriously? Ugly beauty? And that is oxymoron, because you're putting two contradictory words together, two opposites. What do you mean by ugly beauty? Then the second one here is the bittersweet moments of Calvary. The bittersweet moments of Calvary. And when you look at these things, it makes sense when you think about them. Do you understand? Like the first one, when I said, I can only imagine the scars in the heart of this ugly beauty. Because there's so many scars, this person is probably wounded and now looking ugly, but you can see that this person is beautiful, and you're like, I can only imagine the scars on the eyes of this ugly beauty. And this number 2 that says the bittersweet moments of Calvary. Do you know that the moments at Calvary were bittersweet? So much pain, so much anguish, but still the beautiful higher calling. It just has to be the bittersweet moments of Calvary, because we are happy that Calvary happened, but we're also not happy about the things that Christ had to go through. So it's just a bittersweet story. And the third one is reality dreams of the day we all realize that time slips away with every second. Now, if you notice, I used this oxymoron in a way, I said reality dreams of the day. Now, the oxymoron here is reality dreams. Reality, dream together. That is a contradictory statement. A contradictory statement. Reality dreams. How can reality dream of the day we all realize that time slips away with every second? So oxymoron is basically placing two contradictory two contradictory words, not statements, two contradictory words together. And now we are at paradox. I've mentioned paradox a lot. Okay, we're here. So if I remember the examples I gave earlier, I would still bring them in while I'm explaining paradox. So paradox is a contradictory sentence. Now you may wonder, okay, so what's the difference between paradox and oxymoron? Paradox is a contradictory sentence. Oxymoron is putting two contradictory words together. What do I mean by a contradictory statement or a contradictory sentence? A contradictory sentence is a sentence that contradicts itself. Like you say something and the thing is fighting against itself. Like when I said, like a thief, I will await the first light of darkness. The sentence is contradictory. What do you mean the first light of darkness? Does darkness have light? But if you think about it, you don't understand. Oh, like a thief, you will await the first light of darkness. That's like immediately it starts getting dark. Immediately, you get the signal of darkness. So that's a paradox because it's a contradictory sentence. How can you say you will await the first light of darkness? And then see the examples I wrote here. Oh, I actually wrote this example. So number 2 here is the rich survive from the wealth of the poor. That is a contradictory sentence. Please again forgive the spelling of like here. That's wrong. So the rich survive from the wealth of the poor. Number 2, that's a paradox. That's a complete paradox. How can you say the rich survive from the wealth of the poor? First of all, is the poor wealthy? And then the rich that is wealthy, how can the rich be surviving from the wealth of the poor? Oh my God, this is a contradictory sentence, and this is paradox. Good. So when you think about it, you understand the rich survive from the wealth of the poor. When you think about it deeply, you understand. Then number 3, it says his death was life. His death was life. His death. We can use this scenario for the person of Jesus. We can say his death was life because his death brought life. And lastly, it says your depth is shallow. Can you see the contradictory sentences? So your depth is shallow. That is a paradox. That's a contradictory sentence. All right. So I hope you are following. We are coming very close to the end of this class. So now we have rhyme. Rhyme is a sound repetition. Is a sound repetition. Now, the examples here is the examples here are number one, this story holds the irony of the gospel. I know you're expecting me to come and rhyme the ends of these sentences. No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm giving you the rhymes that make sense. The rhymes that make sense. These are some words from my poems, right? So here I said, this story holds the irony of the gospel. The rhyme here is story and irony. This is an internal rhyme. I don't like external rhymes. I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't advise them also. I like internal rhymes because internal rhymes shows the smartness of an author. Internal rhymes shows the smartness of the writer. But when you put end rhymes, those end rhymes of I am a girl, I like to well. If you come here, I'm gonna twirl. Or all those shun, be like the inspection of the suspension of the innovation to the induction is now a repulsion. I don't like this kind of rhymes. I think they are kind of childish, But you see these internal rhymes, they move the world. Because sometimes people don't even realize that you're rhyming. They just know that this thing that you're saying is like music to their ears. And then they find out, oh, that's a rhyme. And they're like, wow, you are awesome. And then the second thing I wrote here, the second example is, I am certain of the monarchy in Great Britain. Certain, breathing. Certain, breathing. Certain, breathing. That is a rhyme. But I put one of them in the middle and I put one at the end of the sentence and I just rhymed that sentence like that. Good. Now, the last one of this example is, like a heap of hay, they lay side by side. Like a heap of hay, they lay side by side. Like a heap of hay, they lay side by side. So you see the rhyme there. Now I'm giving you examples of internal rhymes because these are the rhymes that I want you to learn. And that's why you don't see end rhymes here, because I think that there's a lot of challenge with getting end rhymes correctly. Not because they're not good. I think I should explain that properly. End rhymes are great when you use them well, but it is easy to make mistakes with end rhymes, first of all. And then personally for me, I don't just like end rhymes. Good. All right, so personification. I have a lot of poems that are just based on personification. So definition of personification is giving human attributes to abstract or inanimate objects. Giving human attributes to abstract or inanimate objects. Number one, money, you owe me. Do you see that line over there? Money is not a person. How can he owe you? But you have given human attributes to money. Yeah, that's what personification is all about. Then number two says, I lie lonely in the embrace of my own fabrics. Now, your fabrics are embracing you. Oh my God. Now that is personification because you're giving human attributes to fabrics. Then number three says, love battles logic on uneven grounds. Love battles logic on uneven grounds. That means love battles logic. Love is an abstract term. Logic is an abstract term. They're not humans. How did they battle? On what field did they meet? And what punches did they throw? That is personification right there. Because we're giving human attributes, human characteristics to abstract things like love and logic. The beautiful thing about personification is that you can build a whole poem on it. There's this poem that I wrote. If you look at this first example, money, you owe me, it's actually in a line from one of my poems. And I built that entire poem on my conversation with money. It actually began like, I picked up a phone. It was a phone call. I was calling money and money picked and I was like, hello, friendly foe. Do you always have to double think? Spend some time to brush your teeth while my phone, no, while your phone beeps with my call? I know I know I'm only a student. Sorry, these poems are like years ago. I know I'm only a student, but I'll find it offensive if you don't pay me some respect. Money you owe me for all the times I keep you clean, done and dusted from dirt. That's me having a conversation with money and we're talking. If you listen to that poem, I think the poem is actually on my page. You can find it, you know, my conversation with money. Now, that entire poem, from the first line to the last line, was personification. That's to show you how powerful personification can be. Right? So, let's move to hyperbole. Hyperbole, this is the last figure of speech I will be telling you about today. Hyperbole is simple over exaggeration. And I'm going to list examples for you. Number one, forever is not enough time to love you, my dear. Forever. Do you know how long forever is? Forever is enough for everybody. Oh my God, but it's an exaggeration. Actually, an over exaggeration. That's what hyperbole is. And then number two, I'm like, he ran as fast as lightning. If you notice, this is both a simile and a hyperbole. That's the beauty of poetry. When you understand these figures of speech, you can mix three of them together in one line. And it will just be awesome. Like this number two, now I mixed two figures of speech together. I mixed two figures of speech together to get that one line. And it's like, he ran as fast as lightning. Do you know how fast lightning runs? Lightning is like the fastest thing in the world. You know, light is faster than sound. Light is pew. All right. Then, lastly, the last example for hyperbole is second without you is eternity in darkness. Oh my God. A second without you is eternity in darkness. This is a pure example of hyperbole. That is hyperbole. You're looking for hyperbole? Now this is hyperbole. A second without you is eternity in darkness. That is hyperbole. You cannot tell me that it is for real. So now I have explained these figures of speech for this reason, because there are a lot of poets who do not know the figures of speech. They use them, but they don't really know them. You get. So I'm explaining this so that you know your craft, you know your tools, and you use them like an artist, and you use them properly. Because when you know the figures of speech, you will start observing them in your poems and using them more in your poems, and you recognize them when another poet uses them, and you're like, you snap your finger because you can relate. All right. So there are several other figures of speech, aside the ones that I've mentioned here. At least we have rhetorical question. I didn't write it here. We have alliteration, assonance. We actually have several figures of speech, but these ones that I've given you here are what I think are the basics. And if you know these ones, you would know the other ones. If you know these ones, you would know the other ones. Okay. It's been a pleasure explaining these. I hope you have learned. I hope you have written down. And I hope you are seeing visions. I hope you are seeing your next poem. Because now you're going to write with these revelations in mind. In our next class, I'm going to be discussing a very important one. Discerning a bad poem. Like a lot of the skills I learned from discerning a bad poem came to me over years of teaching poetry, writing poetry, scrutinizing poetry, editing poetry, and I'm just going to share all of them with you in that class so you don't have to go through the struggles I probably could have gone through trying to score a poem and know, okay, what should I correct? What should I add? But there's one beautiful thing about poetry. There are laws and there are also no laws. I'll explain the sentence in the next class when we're talking about how to discern a bad poem. For now, thank you for listening to this time. If you got to this point, I want to know. Comment in the comment section of this video. Say I got to the end. Say I got to the end. I'm gonna be checking those persons who got to the end of this class, and I will be talking to you especially on the group. And if you're not on the group, you can reach out to me also in the comment section to join the group chat where I teach poetry and mentor people and poetry. All right. Have a wonderful day. I love you. Bye.